Well, hello, ladies.
Hello.
After the clap. But welcome back to the Syn Wagon. Thank you all for jumping on with us. My name's Jessica Pearson.
I'm Tara Shannon.
I'm Sam Stone.
And we're all part of the syndicate. We're all artists. I know you're
I know, bouncy.
bouncy. We'll know if there's like an earthquake or something because your microphone will be like this. It'll be perfect. Yeah, we're all artists in our own right, but we also work under the syndicate and work with other artists, helping them find their path in this crazy thing we call the music industry. So we thought we'd start a podcast.
Sorry, this is going to move the whole time. So, okay.
Oh,
we're
yeah.
good.
You're like, let me
Now
fix
we can
it.
move around the couch. No problem. Because I was leaning right against the couch. Okay.
Oh, that does change things. Yeah, so we decided to start a podcast, aka I came to them and was like, we are doing a podcast.
I love how it's the we decided.
Exactly.
Yeah, we collectively decided.
We decided.
That's why I said aka.
We jumped on the Syn Wagon.
We jumped on
Did after a very amazing, awesome pitch.
Yes.
Exactly. Thank you. I
One
feel
of
like
the best pitches I've seen.
Thank you.
It was very
when
good.
I actually put myself towards doing something, sometimes it works. I feel like the girl who was like running after you guys with like a wheelbarrow, like shoving you all in it, and just like taking off.
It felt like a real like Dragon's Den Shark Tank moment.
Yeah.
Yes,
true.
I love it.
We decided to invest.
We decided you did with your time,
Just my time.
just your time and your voice,
Money,
and opinion.
whole other level of commitment.
Who has that? No, just your.
Who has
just your
money?
voice.
We work in the music business. Come on.
None of us. Okay, so I thought we'd start off our podcast today with a little fun fact about
love fun
the
facts.
past today. So a fun fact, in 1970 on today's date, Queen changed their name to Queen. They used to be called Smile.
What? That is
I
not
love how
true.
both of us said what in the same pitch.
They were a band called Smile, and then they changed their name to Queen.
Get out.
Imagine if We Are the Champions came out by a band called Smile.
No.
You know?
Well, to me, Smile, probably because there's like a horror movie called that or something.
No,
I know,
there
Jess,
is.
you're into horror movies.
love
I'm not
it.
really. But I hear Smile. To me, it just makes, when I think of their songs, Queen songs, all I hear now is in the background of like every song embedded in every track.
Right.
It just becomes like weird clown play.
Yeah.
Right? Fat
Like,
Bottom
scary.
Girls by Smile.
Well, I'm happy for that change.
Right?
Yeah, it's
Right?
very smart.
Very
Very
smart.
smart
Yeah.
marketing move, I think.
I
If you
agree.
disagree, let us know.
Yeah, let
Yeah.
us know.
Why?
Would you listen to their albums and all their
Bohemian
music if
Rhapsody.
it came out by a band called Smile instead of Queen?
Would have been a totally different journey.
A
Yeah.
totally different journey. I feel like just like when you hear their name, they're such a legendary band and they made such great changes in the music industry and led the path for so many people to really be themselves on stage and in their music. I honestly can't imagine if their band name was Smile.
I don't know that it would have had the same punch,
I know.
Yeah.
you know?
And like
Now I want to
vibe.
go back and look. I want to see like what their logo looked like.
Yeah.
If they had album art with that. I wonder if the vibe was like totally different or if
Right.
their vibe was this and somebody was like, yeah, your name doesn't really match your vibe. So change the vibe or change the
branding problem.
name.
Change,
You know?
change the vibe or change the name. One of the two. Well, we think they did a smart choice by
Yeah.
changing their name to Queen.
Approved.
Approved.
Approved. Check mark. The syndicate has approved this message. Going to our theme of today. Bam. We are talking about branding. So let's start with the basics. What the heck is branding?
It's
Anyone.
not putting
Horns
a
on your
piece
head?
of metal in a fire.
Yellowstone.
Yellowstone.
I'm going to have to take you to the train station for that.
Yeah, we're not physically branding anyone.
I'll never leave. I'll never tell.
Oh my god.
Well, I have a question for both of you. So before we actually started all working together, what did you think branding was? Because most people that come for coaching with the syndicate, their idea of what branding is totally not what it is. So what did you guys think it was when you were younger artists coming up, figuring things out?
I guess for me, I thought of it in terms of like business, like advertising,
Like a logo?
like a logo, and really just like aesthetic.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I would automatically go to, okay, yeah, like what logo or colors and stuff like that. But that's kind of for me probably where it ended. It was more just like solely a visual thing.
Yeah,
Is
mine
where
was,
my brain would go.
Mine was very surface level too. It was like the clothing, the coloring, the logo, like an all around atmosphere you're creating, but visually for your artistry or your music.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Yeah.
And very, I think, like out looking in.
Yeah.
You know, just thinking of like, oh, okay, what is someone going to see? Not so much like what am I projecting out, if
Right.
that makes any
Or
sense.
what do
Yeah.
I want people
Yeah.
to see?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean,
Like, how do I want it to come through?
Yeah.
It was more just like, oh, what are other people going to look at, and does it like look cool?
Exactly.
right.
And not so much like, what am I going to choose to project out, and how am I going to like communicate my like thoughts, feelings, essence outward?
Yeah.
right.
You know,
exactly.
it was more out looking in than
I didn't know I had
as
thoughts,
a-
feelings, and an essence to share.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, well,
I didn't
same.
know that was a part of what I had to show. I was just like, I look like I'm put together and the colors are kind of matching. Bam, branding done.
Right. Yeah, it's so much bigger than that.
So yeah, Tara, tell us what branding should be.
Well, I'll tell you what it's not first, and because a lot of artists, as soon as I can tell, especially the really artsy ones that come and
Yeah.
they're looking for coaching, but they don't want any coaching on their art. You know what I mean? They're very like artist
Protective.
first, very protective, and they're very sort of, they have a vibe of not selling out or, you know, against the man, you know,
Yep.
like that kind of thing. So even when you start using words like business plan, things like that, they go, oh God, no, like I'm melting. Like, and so you have to like that's the extreme. And then other ones are really, you know, eager to figure out what that is. But branding is not, like you're saying, Sam, like outside to in, it's not about becoming something. And that's where a lot of artists are like, oh, like, don't like, you know, dress me up in this. And
Yeah,
you know,
that sellout
yes,
in a sense.
exactly. Like
Yes.
becoming something that's marketable and relatable out there. And it feels icky. It feels inauthentic. It feels like, you know, somebody slapping a sticker on you. It feels like, it doesn't
Yeah.
feel good. So that's not branding. So if you're working
Not
with anybody,
branding.
no, that is not branding. So if you're working with a coach or somebody that's telling you that you need to become something, or you need to do it like this, or you need to wear, you know, you have to be wearing a yellow sweater because yellow sweaters are selling. They're all the rage these days. So you're a yellow sweater, be a yellow sweater. And you're like, no, I'm an orange sweater. And they're like, you need to be a yellow sweater because we know yellow sweaters are selling. And
yeah.
you're like, I really don't look good in yellow and I don't like yellow. Don't put on the yellow sweater because that's not branding.
Yeah.
So branding really is a feeling, and that's, you know, where people kind of miss it at first. And it is a difficult concept to, it's not an easy thing because it's the feeling. Your brand is the feeling of the experience of you.
Yeah.
So the feeling people get when they listen to your music, when they see you on stage, when they buy your merch, when they go to your social posts, the feeling of that experience is your brand. And the best quote that I heard was the Amazon dude, Jeff Bezos. He said, your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room.
Yes.
And that is, although we can't control what people say about us, that is what you're trying to manage when you develop your brand identity.
Yes.
So I like the word brand identity because it gets away from just brand, because people are like, oh, that's a logo. I've designed a logo. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe that's a good start. But it's just like one piece. So yeah, so it's the feeling of the experience of you in all things. And that takes, like, developing your brand really is about understanding who you are truly and authentically, which is a really scary process.
Oh, yeah. And it's something that you're not just like, okay, I'm just going to sit and write it out. And 5 minutes later you're done, you know who you are. Like, you know, like
Ta-da!
sometimes it takes years. And I think that's what's cool about branding too, is it develops with you, right? And it changes
it
with
can
you
evolve.
and who you are. It
It's
can
not
evolve.
always once you figure out your branding today, like that's what it is
Or
for
that's
the
what
rest of
you're
your
stuck
life.
with. Exactly, right? It evolves like we do as we discover ourselves, as we go through experiences, and as we change and evolve and our music changes and evolves, so does that branding, right?
There should always be a thread of continuity that runs through all of it.
Yeah.
And so there'll be this foundational branding and understanding of yourself and who you are as an artist and what you're choosing to show the world. Because as humans, we're complex beings.
Yeah.
We're many, many things. And when in our artistry, we're choosing to channel a part of ourselves into the world and letting the public into that. It's not the entirety of who you are. And I think that's why some artists, resist the process because they're like, well, I'm not one thing. That's right. You're not one thing. But in order for the consumer or fan to understand you, you have to focus and be something that is digestible and understandable, so that you can form that connection, through music. So it's like I'll say, imagine going into a Walmart and everything is in brown boxes and there's no label on anything, and you're just walking up and down the aisles and nothing is communicated.
Right.
There's no label on anything. How
that's a
would
great
you
example.
ever know what you need, what you like, what you want, where to find it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because we are like
Just stumbling around blind.
Yeah, like as a society, like we understand things by the what we have learned, right? It's like we know what this couch is and what couches are by the looks of them and the understanding. We know like a couch, you sit on it. Most of the times it's somewhat comfy and there's room for more people. Like that's described in it. So I'm going to know what a couch is, the feeling of that couch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And when it comes to like you as your artistry, there's like you're saying, there's core parts of who we are that we want to show and that come out in our music. That's that. It's the same with like genres, right? We don't like to put our music into a genre or into one place. A lot of people, like, unless you're truly that straight lane, like a lot of people mix and match and have different things in there. But if you can't portray that to someone, they're not going to understand what you're saying. And they're also not going to feel a connection. And even though they might love your music and be the perfect fan for you, they might never go and listen to it because they don't know what it is. They don't know what type of music it is and whether they're going to like it or not.
Yeah. And so that's what brand identity is about. It's a communication tool. Mm-hmm. It's how we communicate the feeling of the experience of us. So if you listen to my music, you're going to feel or experience this. And we use art, we use colors, we use photography, we use copy, like language, copy, the way that we speak. I talk with my hands so much. We use all of these tools available to us in order to create that communication.
Yeah.
But it is mostly and always about a feeling. And so in the workshops that we do, I'll walk people through and say, okay, let's talk about some major brands that we are all affected by. Mm-hmm. I like to use McDonald's as a great example because it took a hit and had to recover. If you guys remember the Super Size Me thing.
Yeah.
So McDonald's there was a certain feeling about McDonald's before that. And it was, for me, it was connected to my childhood. It was a treat for me growing up. Like going to McDonald's was like so rare for us,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And you got the toy because they know how to do their marketing and get those kids hooked on the food. So then we are then bringing our children,
And then even as adults, it's like, oh, like I just had an awesome interview. Like I'm going to go treat myself to
That's
McDonald's.
right.
It becomes this like thing that like you knew wasn't the healthiest, but it was always like a treat or a reward as a kid and still as an adult.
Right.
At least for me.
And I think that's a very common,
yeah.
It's not going to be everybody's experience, but I think it's common. And so you have a feeling around that, like going out and getting a treat. It's special. It's something different. There's a toy, like growing up. And as adults, the feeling of it's a treat because you don't have to cook for your kids, so this whole thing. And so there's a feeling that went with the brand. And then the Super Size Me hit and it had a seismic effect on
Oh, yes, on
that,
the brand.
that brand,
Yeah.
which it changed and refocused, you know, and focused on the quality of the food, and that
Yep.
it wasn't necessarily healthy for us. Well, in large doses, obviously, as they were doing in that film,
supersized
you know, every day.
Yes.
I don't nobody, even McDonald's is not recommending to eat McDonald's every day
for every meal.
you know. So the brand took a hit, and so they had to evolve and respond to that, and so they came up with the da 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 da, I'm loving it, you know. So
Yep.
so anyways, if you look at these major sort of corporate brands, which is kind of, I think, why artists resist this process sometimes, it can feel kind of, you know, cold or manipulative or sort of, you know, all imposing.
Yeah,
But
depending
there's
how
a-
you do it, it
That's
can
right.
feel kind of like plasticky.
Yeah, and like kind of you're locking yourself in a cage of that.
Exactly. And it's not like, if you look at Starbucks, for example, you know, the feeling of Starbucks is, you know, I mean, it's such a brilliant thing because they get us to pay $10 for a coffee, which is truly insane.
Ridiculous.
But we're happy to do it. And we schedule our days, if you're a Starbucks lover, around driving past a Starbucks. And it's like, when you get so it's they've done a brilliant job.
And
with
they
the
don't
brand.
they've never tried to be like a value brand or anything.
No.
They've always, it's like, again, like almost everyone knows it's luxury,
Yeah.
like a luxury
Yes.
coffee choice, but people
Yep.
choose to do it anyways.
And their branding isn't even about the coffee.
Oh yeah.
Like, if you think about the messaging that they've sent, it's the come here, Wi-Fi for free.
Yep.
Come join, and so come have some coffee. It's brilliant. Come hang out. We'll give you Wi-Fi. Have a coffee. Meet up with people. What they sell is a sense of connection and belonging, and a sense of community.
Yeah.
You just happen to be drinking coffee around it,
Right.
But
Exactly.
right. But what and so when they went through the challenge of they got challenged on the race issue
Yes.
in the States particularly, and remember they shut down all of their stores to do training,
Yeah.
sensitivity training,
yeah.
because it became such a big. So the reason why that was such a big problem, I mean, it's a big problem for humanity in general.
Yes.
And we have a long way to go. But that didn't affect their coffee. It's not like their crisis was people found mouse poop in the coffee beans, or
Yeah, exactly. It
right,
didn't
or
have
it
to do
wasn't
with-
fair trade or something.
Yeah.
It was touching on community,
Community.
the sense of belonging, and you can come here
Which
because
is their branding.
I think these young African American men were asked to leave. They were asked, even though they were students or something, and they were, you know, waiting for a friend, or they weren't ordering something until the friend came or something, and then they were
Yeah.
badly treated by the manager.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. So that's why it bumped up on the brand and became a crisis that they were
Yeah.
And
dealing with.
even actually with I have a lot of friends. I haven't personally worked for Starbucks, but a lot of friends who worked for Starbucks through like university and stuff. And even with their employees, it's all very community centered. Like they don't call them, you're not an employee of Starbucks, you're a partner.
Right.
Yes.
And all partners also have like access to like shares, and there's really good benefits and all this stuff. So their community message branding also carries over into
In their internal
like
structure.
their internal
Yeah.
structure and how they're trying to recruit partners.
Right.
Oh, exactly. Like they have the two different brands that coexist together. The brand to the consumers, but the brand to the employees that they're trying to bring in, right?
So it has the same feeling.
Exactly.
They're trying. So okay, so if we transfer that now to like major, huge international acts. So throw somebody out there.
Well, you know where my brain's going to go because her fans are insane. Good old T Swift.
T Swift. Oh my God, she's a masterclass.
Oh,
she
yeah.
is a masterclass.
And she also had a massive changeover,
Mm-hmm.
but her branding, the feel of her branding never changed,
Right.
even though she went from
aesthetic
country to pop.
And so what was the commonality? What was the constant for Taylor Swift? What do you know about her? And what did she fundamentally do so brilliantly, whether she was a country artist, pop star, or like dominating the world?
Well, her like fans are
Exactly.
just like she has been fans first from day one.
From the day
That's right.
one.
And so her whole brand is that it's not about her at all.
It's all about her
It's
fans.
entirely about her fans and her brand. And she is all about them all of the time, consistently. And then that gave her the power to challenge Ticketmaster and Live Nation and get them dragged
And
in front of
Apple Music.
Congress and Apple Music and the record label by doing her own masters. Like, because your fans are all your power, all of your power is in your audience.
Oh, all of the power for everything is in your audience.
As an
right?
artist, that is all.
And
of
she
your
just
power.
caught on. Her team knew that's where to go from the get-go. A lot of people start trying to go in different places, but they knew, like, it's all about your audience. It's all about them. Because if you're still making the same music, if you do a full change, your audience is still going to follow you and go with you.
And so the feeling you have, watching Taylor Swift perform, or even in an interview, or if you watch on her social media or the stuff she does with social media, is you feel, no wonder people flock to her, because you feel like you belong. You feel like she sees you.
Exactly.
And so that is incredible. And so, like, the feeling of Taylor Swift and the brand of Taylor Swift, it's like, it almost is like she has artistry, obviously. She's a phenomenal songwriter, and all that stuff. But you really do feel, if you're there, that it is about you, so.
Oh, yeah.
Right. You're not going to be impressed by some kind of show. You feel like you're integrally part of it.
Exactly. It's not, let me show you how amazing I am. It's like, let's do this together.
Exactly.
That's the feeling you have. That's the feeling you've had through all of her songwriting, through every decision she's ever made, marketing wise.
Very relatable.
It's always about us doing this together and it being us rather than a look at what I'm doing.
I'm a superstar. Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. So we've done this.
Okay.
I feel like we have a basic understanding of branding. So how does someone start? So they have their music, they have their stuff, and they're starting to think about their branding and putting it all together. So I know there's 3 questions that I want to get to at the end, but let's start with just, where do you start for branding?
Well, it helps to do it with somebody. Is the first thing I would say.
I agree.
It's because it's very difficult for us to see. And even me as an artist, I do this for people all day, every day. But for me as an artist, I still need somebody to help me see myself the way they see me. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's hard for us to see ourselves the way our fans see us.
Oh, yeah.
So getting a trusted sounding board is number 1, okay, to bounce on. And not your mom or
Your boyfriend or your dad
boyfriend
or your brother or
girlfriend.
sister.
Because, and they love you and they're wonderful and family's awesome and all that great stuff. But try to find like a colleague, like somebody who does music to you that there's a safe space, or come for coaching, but, whichever. But that place where you can say certain things. But there's internal work you have to do first.
Yes.
So what are your values? Write that down. What matters to you? Why are you doing music? What is it about music that draws you in, and what gives you your sense of purpose there? And then being able to describe sonically, where now that can move by project and project, right?
Yes.
So that's not static, that's fluid. But there'll be a general bucket. And what also helps is what you are not. Sometimes starting with what you're not. Like, I am not a heavy metal artist.
Are you sure?
Right?
not
Like
yet.
me
Yet.
trying to be a heavy metal artist would not be believable in any way.
Yes.
So I know for sure I'm not that. I'm not a hip hop artist. Right? So start with the what you're not.
Lil
What are
T,
you not
come
for
on,
sure?
Lil T.
I was a hip hop artist
You were
in
a
one
hip hop
video, actually.
artist in one song. Let's not forget it.
In a parody video.
Oh, yeah. But that makes complete sense, right?
Start with what you're not.
Exactly. If you don't know where to go and where to start with of what you are, starting with what you're not is the best way to do it, because you're basically narrowing, you're Xing out all these other possibilities. So then you're
Eliminating
left with,
variables.
You're left with some of the values you might have,
Yeah.
or some of what you are.
And then another place to go mining for information would be social media comments on some of your posts, or remembering what fans have said about your music after a show. And again, keep in mind what the personal relationship is with that person.
Yes.
The best information is from a stranger, somebody who doesn't know you. If you're lucky enough to be playing for people outside your warm circle, if you've managed to get that far, which is really hard. So good job if you have. So what have people said? And just kind of try to detach yourself from how it makes you feel emotionally and listen for the words. What were the key words that they said? You know, it was really calming, or, you know, I found it really inspiring, or, you know, it really made me want to get up and dance. You know, those are real key words to help you. So write those down. I would say write those down, and write down descriptive words that you think your music is, and yourself as a person as well. Because remember, it's the expression of you and the feeling of you.
Yes.
Yeah. So I would start with that.
No, I love that. I think that's an amazing place to start for branding, right? Is you want to, it's about getting the expression of you. And I think starting with like your values and all of that is a great place to get to know where you are and where to kind of go
to
from
check
there,
in
right?
with yourself.
Exactly. And then when you get there, then you can go, like, once you have that, all of that kind of more inner work done, then you can go to, okay, like, what images you see, what colors you see that come with you and your music, right?
And then once you pick maybe like a group of images as a reference point, go back to those words and values that you wrote down and be like, do these fit, you know, this aesthetic of whatever pictures I've chose that I'm inspired by?
Yes,
you know, and
because
keep checking and going back and seeing, does it line up?
yes,
Is there
and that's a
consistency?
really important distinction, is learning to see and feel when you are like something,
Yes.
like it's a personal preference, like you like the color purple in general in life. That doesn't always mean you have to have or should have purple in your branding.
Yeah.
Do you know what I
'cause-
mean? So it's
oh,
like
yeah.
what you like versus what is communicating the feeling of you.
Yeah, I may love like a heavy metal song. Doesn't mean I'm going to go cut a heavy metal song as an artist.
That's right.
You know, you
Oh,
can
yeah.
like love other things and really enjoy something and have an interest in something, but that not be you and your brand.
Oh,
and-
yeah.
of you as an artist.
I can wear only leggings all day, every day, and massive sweaters, but I'm not going to go on stage with that because that doesn't fit the necessary branding of who I am and the flowy state, right? And so it's good to kind of go there. But yeah, this is a lot of good work. So if you're starting your branding, or if you were like us and thought that branding was just do it Nike with the check mark, and that was it.
The swoosh.
The swoosh. Like if that, right? Take it. If you're an established artist and you've been doing it for a while, but you haven't done these exercises, it's still so good to do that. You get to learn a bit more about yourself.
And find similar artists. And I know we all hate being compared to, and similar, but it's the nature of how it works. It's how you communicate. So if somebody says, oh, you remind me of so-and-so, or your songs remind me of so-and-so, go and look at what they have used to communicate the feeling of them. And then don't rip it off, because we don't do that, but then just study it. Like get really good at studying things and say, oh, that's really interesting. Or how does this logo make me feel when I go to, or this merch, or if you go see your favorite band, like, you know, you start studying yourself is the best way to develop excellent branding.
We are all consumers. We
are
are
all
all artists, but we are also all consumers of other music, other products, right? So a great way to do it is to study ourselves. Why do we find this photo compelling? Like what's drawing us in? What makes us not want to buy a brand, right? What pushes us away from that? And being able to study that and look at all those edges, you can then begin to understand yourself too and other consumers, right? Other music consumers. Three of my favorite branding questions that you have, Tara, and you get all the artists we work with to go through are, if you or your music was a car, what would it be? If it was a location or place, what would it be? And if it was a bumper sticker, what would it be?
Yeah, bumper sticker or quote.
Yes.
And that's a really good exercise to help you line up the feeling of you and the brand. Because it's so like a car, for example, if you say Mustang, there's a feeling that comes with Mustang. If you say, you know, what are the punch buggies? Volkswagen, what's the actual name of them?
I don't remember, but I always
Punch buggy,
old
right?
school,
Like the
punch
Volkswagens.
buggy.
Yeah, the punch buggies. There's a feeling. Like you wouldn't say sophisticated with a punch buggy. You would say cute and fun and, you know, adventurous. And, you know, if you say Porsche,
There's a vibe.
right? What's the words that come with that? You know,
maybe like fast, urban.
Yeah.
Like has a certain
elite,
vibe.
you know, that
Exactly.
kind of
Luxury.
thing. So
But it also starts like I remember talking to one of the artists that we worked with and who said bike. And I was like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like an actual bicycle. It doesn't have to be,
Yeah,
you know,
just like a mode of
vehicle.
transportation. Yeah. It just helps. So just be mindful at, like, when you're describing these cars, you know, it comes with a feeling. It comes with, you know, and describe them with emotions, you know, like fast, you know. So, and then the quote and the bumper sticker, a quote or bumper sticker. Like, the reason why we do car, bumper sticker, and a location is because at the end you say, okay, now imagine yourself in this vehicle. You're driving to this place or in this place, and at the back of the car it says this. Does this feel like you?
Yeah.
Does
Like, you put all that in like a music video,
Right.
to one of your songs. Like, would that make sense?
Does it
make
Or
sense?
would you be like, this makes no sense?
Yeah.
I'm so confused.
Yeah.
Oh, exactly.
Do you remember what yours were? What yours are?
I want to say
haven't
mine
done it
was
in a
like a
while.
60s Mustang. And I want to say the place
Yours was like a
was
dive
like
bar.
a
or
dive
something.
bar,
Or
like a
something, yeah.
smoky dive bar. And I can't remember my bumper sticker. Off
What
the
your
top of
quote
my
was?
head.
Do
I
you
can't
remember yours?
the
Oh yeah, mine was the Shire,
Oh, of course.
a Hobbit location, a Hobbit home. For a place, my mode of transportation was the old school. But punch
buggy?
buggy, like old school, like a baby yellow punch buggy, like really old school, kind of beat up. And then
She looked broke.
she looked broke because
Yeah,
she
exactly.
is. And then my bumper sticker was HMS, and it was or it was hot mess syndrome, or sorry, it was harmonies, melody, and songs. Or hot mess syndrome.
HMS, Harmony Melody.
Double
that's right,
meaning.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I just remember my quote. My quote is just wing it. Life, eyeliner, everything. Which is one of my favorites. Yeah. And also too, sometimes I use it was me. I let the dogs out.
Which is very true for your house of 3 dogs. Yes.
Yeah, with my dog. So yeah, so those, if you do those 3 things, and remember, it's not the car you like. It's not
Yeah.
right. It's the car that
Or
feels,
not what you're driving right now.
or not where you're driving right now, or what you think you can afford, or none of that is relevant to this
Yeah,
exercise.
exactly.
It's the feeling of that vehicle, the feeling it gives you, and the impression it gives other people.
Exactly. It
And
could
the
be a boat.
color and stuff. And the location can be a city. I mean, if you say the word Nashville, that has a vibe. You say New York City, it has a vibe. You say Dubai, it has a vibe. Like, there's a feeling around those cities.
And it can be a real place. It can be a fictional place. We've had some people say like the open road.
the open
because
road
they
has a
don't have-
feeling.
it has a feeling.
That's right. I've had some people say their childhood bedroom. You know, because they felt, you know, there was a feeling of familiarity and growing
Yeah.
and adventure and experiencing life, and, you know, and all their music was about that. So
Yeah.
the childhood bedroom made total sense.
Exactly.
So yeah, your vehicle, your location, and your quote or bumper sticker, and that will help you narrow down your brand.
But that's the quick intro to branding 101 on this Syn Wagon. So we're gonna end it off with a beautiful question of the song. What is a song you are vibing with right now? Give it to me, Sam.
Okay, so I don't generally listen to a lot of jazz, but new artist at the Grammys this year was a jazz artist named Samara Joy.
Yes.
And I was like, how awesome is it that new artist at the Grammys was a jazz vocalist, essentially, because it's not usually that. So I was like, there's got to be some
Usually
good
no.
reason for this. And also just love seeing that other genres are being represented on that sort of stage. So her whole album is just awesome. I've been digging it, listening to it a lot. There's a song called Can't Get Out of This Mood. And yeah, it's great.
Love it.
That's what I've been
Love
listening
it,
to.
Sam.
She has the most beautiful voice.
She does.
Oh.
Unreal.
Oh, yes.
So good. Like, just her tone. And then also there's some other tracks on there where she does like the most crazy jazz runs that I just like could not even like conceptualize ever in my mind. It's pretty mind blowing. So yeah,
Done. Check it out, everyone.
that's my pick.
Tara.
When I was driving in the car, I'm trying to think. What's my go-to right now? I keep coming back to Sarah Bareilles. She's my
yes.
She's like my set point, my grounding point. Every time I come back, and I want to be inspired, and I want to be reminded how much more work I have before I can call myself a real songwriter. No.
Yeah.
That level of things. It's her. So I was listening to Gravity, which is one of my favorites to sing
good.
to.
Amazing.
Top of your lungs in the
amount
car.
of drunk moments I've had singing, scream singing Gravity.
I know.
In a group of human
So
beings.
good.
I think she's the most under-celebrated, underrated talent that we have these days.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
She has not won a Grammy.
I know.
What the
Or-
actual
I know.
Or a Tony.
Or any award.
Like, I
Or
don't
maybe
get
she
it.
has now. Oh yeah, didn't Into the Woods win
Yes.
a bunch of stuff
Oh,
this
good.
year?
Tony's?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
I think.
Our
Just
waitress must have
recently.
won something.
Well, it's
don't
really
know.
funny though
Nominated
because literally, like I edit all our videos, and we literally had this exact conversation in like episode like 2 or
Go
3.
Sarah. Woo,
Yeah.
we love you.
Sarah.
Oh, yeah.
And the first thing is she's the most underrated.
Oh, totally.
Run
Yeah.
She
down
is.
under the
She's
thing.
just so I could like sing her praises all day. So
Oh,
thank you
yeah.
for doing that, Tara.
Well, thank you. We'll have way more Sarah Bareilles songs coming up. I've been listening to Benjamin Dakota Rogers. He just released a new album, and it's super raw. It's just guitar, bass, and violin, and his voice. And then the songwriting is spectacular. It's so like bluegrassy, like old school country outlaw Americana vibes. It's really good. Charlie Boy, I'm in love with right now. Yes, it's kind of a murder ballad. Not surprising for me, but it's a really great song. So
I'll
yeah,
check it out. Yeah.
If you're looking for new music, you now have 3 new suggestions for people to listen to. But thank you all so much for jumping on the Syn Wagon with us. I'm Jess.
I'm Tara.
I'm Sam.
And we're from the Syndicate on the Syn Wagon. Leave us a comment, review us, wherever the thing is. I'm moving my hands like a wild person. And yeah, let us know if there are any other subjects you'd like us to talk about, because we're just here to keep talking about all of it. But yeah, thanks for jumping on the Syn Wagon with us, and we'll see you next time.
The feeling of you.
The feeling of you, the feeling of me, the feeling of all of us, the feeling of you. Well, I'm gonna well.